Hello, my name is Anna Burns, and today I'll be talking about history of the last Romanovs family and some events that took place before their assassination. Last fall, I watched a documentary on Netflix called Last Czars. The documentary motivated me to do my own research, and today I would like to share what I learned with you. If you don't know anything about history of Russia, you must have heard something about the Romanov dynasty. They ruled Russia from 1613 up to Russian Revolution in 1917, so roughly 300 years. And the downfall of the Tsar Nicholas II, the last Tsar, and his family has been a subject of great fascination for many years. And this is because, consequently, it was a downfall of the whole Russian Empire. Also, there was a cruel massacre that took place on July 17th, 1918. So, who was the infamous Tsar? And I'm going to show you his picture here in a second. His name was Nicholas II, and his um, he took his throne from his father Alexander III in 1894. He was only 26 years old at the time, and it was rumored that he was unprepared to take the throne. He was young, he was arrogant, and he also believed that he was chosen by God to rule the country, which is a very, very, very big task for one person. Russia is a huge country, and often what was happening in different parts of it was unknown to the monarch. Also, it was time of big changes in Russia. We were talking rapid industrialization, we were talking telephones, we were talking telegraphs, cars, planes. Times were changing. The world was changing. Yet, Romanovs, including Nicholas II, held on to the outdated worldview. Ultimately, his well-intentioned but weak personality contributed to disasters that caused the downfall of the Romanov dynasty. Shortly after his father's death, he married a German princess named Alexandra of Hesse. They married for love, which was unheard of at the time of the at the time among the royalty. Altogether, they had 5 children, and I'm going to show them here to you in a second. The first four were the girls. Their names were Tatiana. Um, Their names were Tatiana, Olga, Anastasia, and Maria. And the last child they had, his name was Alexei, and he was a boy, which was um, a great deal for the royal family at the time because he was a he was an heir to the throne, and they waited for him for a very, very long time. Not to mention they prayed for him for a long, long time. And finally, he arrived, and what was discovered shortly after his birth that sadly he had a genetic condition called hemophilia. The main characteristic of this condition is an ability of a person's blood to form clot. This means every time a sick person has a cut or or she is minorly injured, um, they are in risk of bleeding out and dying. The condition is incurable, and back then they didn't know it was genetics, but they knew there was no cure for it at the time. Um, the royal family was devastated, and they decided to keep Alexis' sickness is a secret, and that secret, not the condition itself, but the secret contributed to the majorly to what happened to the family at the end. And also, before I go into details about the royal family, how they were assassinated, I would like to speak a little bit about mistakes of Nicholas II as a ruler. Because without his mistakes, there wouldn't be no revolution. There would be less likely people who would lead major revolts and overthrow the government. Um, anyway, his first mistake was leading his country into war against Japan. The two countries had competed for areas in Korea for quite a while. However, they created multiple peace treaties, and Russia broke those treaties, which caused Japan to declare war on Russia. And it was 1 year old, or 1 year long war. So Nicholas thought he would boost nationalism if he acquired some land for his new country, but he soon faced terrible losses against Japan, and because of that, large civilian revolt appeared throughout the country. Nicholas' second mistake was what's now called Bloody Sunday. On January 22nd, 1905, over 200,000 unarmed Russian peasants marched to the Tsar's Winter Palace to demand better working conditions and an elected legislator. Nicholas was concerned for the safety of his family in the palace, and instead of reasoning with the people, he ordered his guardian soldiers to fire upon unarmed protesters. So over 1,000 people were hurt, and over 100 people were dead. People were rioting. People were very, very angry for Nicholas doing that. So Nicholas was trying to reason with his people after that, and he actually gave them what they were asking for, which was Duma. That was a first parliament in Russia. However, he was still in charge, and like 2 weeks later, he refused to give up his power, and he ordered secret police to continue to crush the oppression against him. And lastly, which I can say was his mistake, it was more likely what happened. It was more likely a wrong time to be a monarch. So that was World War One. The war drained last resources from the country, not to mention millions of people were killed. While the war initially strengthens the monarchy, or maybe just turned people's attention from the Tsar to the war, in 1915, Nicholas made the disastrous decision to lead Russian armies. He wasn't a talented commander, and several military failures were affiliated directly with him. It didn't help that he left his anxious wife, Alexandra, in charge of the country. She ignored all government advisors, and the only person she took advice from was Gregory Rasputin. So he was an important person, and let's talk about him just for a second. Who was he? Gregory Rasputin was what he thought he was a holy man, but however he was a mystic. He was an imposter, and that's what he known today in history. He was also drunk and quite a ladies' man. And the time he had reputation of being able to heal sick by prayer. And remember, I said that Nicholas and Alexandra had a son who had an incurable genetic disease called hemophilia. And besides all that comes with having this disease, Alexandra, Alexei's mother, he would go into this psychotic outbreaks every time Alexei was caught or had a minor bleed. And that stressed everybody out. It stressed out all of her children because spent all of her time with them, and this also stressed out her husband, Nicholas II. So, so when Rasputin came to St. Petersburg in 1905, he was called to the Winter Palace for help. with Alexei's condition. But all he could really do every time is to calm Zarina, which is in turn made everyone, including Alexei, feel better. Imagine being sick and then having a psychotic mother caring for you on top of that. Needless to say, Rasputin intervention was a welcome change for all household. Um, the problem here was that Zarina, who was on multiple anti-anxiety and antidepressant medication at the time, became more and more psychologically dependent on Rasputin. This gave him a great power over, well, Zarina and Nicholas at the same time, because remember, they married for love, right? So Nicholas took Alexander's opinion very close to heart. And when he went to war, he he left Zarina in charge of the country, but basically what he did, he left Rasputin in charge of the country. And as a consequence, in 1917, Rasputin was killed by members of royal household. Um, when Nicholas returned in 1917, he lost the power of his army. And this means that he lost control of his army, and he had no choice but to abdicate. And a new provisional government was established. There were two sides to the revolution, Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. The first fought to overthrow the monarchy, and the second fought to keep it. In 1918, Bolsheviks overthrew the provisional government, and they put in charge the leader Vladimir Lenin at the time, and it was a whole new communist Russia. The country descended into civil war right after that. The royal family was imprisoned by Bolsheviks, and they were kept together, but as prisoners in the different locations, in the different cities of Russia. They were moved from one location to another, and the last location they were told to be was in 1918. There was a house in Yekaterinburg in Russia, and in July 1918, Mensheviks, they came very, very close to that city, and Lenin, the leader of Bolsheviks, they were afraid they were going to take Mensheviks were going to take the city and free their own family. So he gave an order to assassinate them. The royal family was awakened in the middle of the night and informed that they were being moved to a new location. They were brought to a room in the basement where they were instructed to wait for their transport. And so they did. They waited. A short while after, several soldiers walked into the room and they shoot all of the family members then. When the royal family was being moved from their palace, they managed to take all their jewels with them. So the daughters had them sewn into their corsets. So essentially, they were wearing a bulletproof vest at the time, so it did get bloody when they were trying to shoot them. And it's horrible. It's so scary. I can't help but wonder what would become of Russia if Bolsheviks lost at the time. And that's it, guys, for today. I hope you enjoyed my little speech, and you're staying safe during these crazy times. Thank you so much, and have a good day.